Markets make new highs, and is Google un-American? What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line, and always great to be here, spend some time with you all. And here we are. Markets continue to power ahead forward, and you know, we saw the Russell continue to make new highs, high after high. NASDAQ finally made a new high. The Dow and the S&P not far behind. Is this, are we going to the moon? Is this the moonshot? Well, this is one of the reasons that we decided to go neutral and observe the market, because what we've seen here is a crushing of volatility. We have seen money flowing back into the markets. Now, again, volumes are light, volatility is horrible, but you cannot be looking to sell this market here. It's not time. You know, you have to look at individual issues here. There's one of the things that we look at when we look at markets is what is the probability, and right now there is no reason to believe that the markets won't pull back to a support level and then continue to go higher. I would be surprised not to see new highs in the Dow and the S&P based on where we are now. I think you're going to see Apple get to that $1 trillion mark. You know, again, you kind of get these news stories and they kind of flow, and it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I think what we look at here is you see the falling apart of oil. Oil has now dropped about 10% from its highs. You know, again, many were very bullish oil, and again, I was wrong on the initial, but I think I'm right in the longer term. I think that oil is headed dramatically lower from here. Now, again, it does not mean there won't be some rallies in between, but I think the highs are now in again in oil, and I think if you look at it, you'll see that we should be falling even further. And of course, there's been many reasons to believe, but we still have that fear factor in oil, which I think is the only reason it's even staying where it's at now, which is near 65, and that is the backwardation formation still in the pattern. But at the end of it, it looks like oil wants to go lower now. And again, this would be the new paradigm as we look at it. And if you see the spike, and now we have the late money trying to arrive, trying to push it back up, and I think it's going to fail. Gold has found, it looks to me like a bottom, and it is working in a place of consolidation down at the lower end of its range. I would expect to see gold have a little bit of a pop to the upside. I think we'll test that 1330 to 1365 level at some point here. I think the low is in here for now. And again, things can change, but for now, I think that's what we look at it. You saw the dollar go to our target, our first target of 95, and it's now consolidating between 95 and 93. I don't think there's anything unusual about that. I think that is basically the way that the script was written. I mean, we've talked about these numbers over and over again, and here we are churning back and forth in those numbers. But I think the interesting thing is we all like to make these correlations, and, you know, well, why are, you know, the dollar's going down, so then why is oil going down, and why is gold going down? Why are the grains going down? If the dollar's going down? Again, that's why trying to correlate any asset class in the immediate is ridiculous. All right, you are not going to win that battle because they will not necessarily correlate in the short term. I think that you've already seen a higher dollar has already been priced into these markets, so I don't think it has any effect. I think this is one of the things that we look at, and as we look at the dollar-denominated commodities of the grains and the livestock, what did we see? Well, we had a very, very big rally, and now we're having a sell-off. We're doing a little bit what we would call retracing there. Now, has the overall model changed? I don't think so. I think that other than soybeans, which we have been concerned about for months and said to watch that $10 level, I don't think there's been anything really that has changed. I think wheat looks phenomenal, looks like it's going to break out, and I would expect to see a 6 handle on it before the year's out. And I think that corn is down at a level that we may want to look to buy. You know, we have to remember that markets do what they're going to do, and maybe there was a little bit of fear in the markets and people sold off, but we did not see heavy volumes. In fact, I'll go as far to say that in soybeans and in corn, we saw what we would say blow-offs to the downside on Thursday, Friday last week, and there may be buying opportunities there. Again, I'm still very concerned about the soybean market, but at the end of the day, I would have no problem owning grains in general. Livestock seems to have turned it around and is pushing its way higher, and not a total surprise. I think we talked about these things and what to expect, and I think that they're playing out pretty much as the market footprints have put in there. We saw bonds, have a little bit of a bounce back, okay, but again, now interest rates are again approaching that 3% level. I expect the 10-year to go well over 3%. In fact, by the end of the year, we wouldn't be surprised to see the 10-year at 4%. This week coming up, we've got the Fed, the ECB, the North Korean summit, okay? Now, I think the North Korean summit has been priced into this market as decent news. So the only thing that can happen from North Korea, in my opinion, is that the markets could sell off. Now, again, I'm not putting a lot into this, nor am I making a major prediction here. But again, when you look at the news, look at how far we've gotten so far with North Korea. They are going to meet, at least as of this point. We've still got 2 more days to sweat it out. But they're going to get to the table. Now, if you get to the table, there's most likely going to be some sort of a deal made there. But I don't think it'll be made this week. But again, as long as the lines of communication remain open, I think that will still be considered as good news. You've got the Fed, which is going to hike rates, which is not a surprise. That's already been priced in. The real key will be is what's going to be their forward-looking decision. And basically, most likely, they'll continue with this ridiculous dovish talk, which in my mind makes no logical sense. All right. If the economy is as strong as they say it is, I don't think it is, but if it's as strong as they say it is, why are they still involving stimulus and trying to keep their foot on top of the interest rate market? There's a big demand for money out there, and a lot of small business can't get it, which is making Americans, we're creating imbeciles here now, because they're forcing everybody that needs money in the smaller end, okay, of course, because the big guys, they get whatever they want, right? I mean, they line up to give them their money. But the little guys are forced to use credit cards at usury rates. And what message are we sending when we've got credit card debt at all-time record highs, right? We've got earnings, personal earnings, hourly wages are not increasing. Personal income is not increasing. I know they tell us it is, but I haven't seen the proof of that yet, so I find it hard to figure it out. But if you look at the debt structure, if you don't think there's not going to be a debt bomb here at some point, you better think again, because you've got massive amounts of debt across the board in student loans. I believe that's over $1 trillion. There is numbers that are mind-boggling, and we finally just saw the new car payment, I think it's a new average car payment, or the high car payment, is now over $500 a month. All right, so we're building this massive amount of debt, and of course the markets continue to go higher. Now again, we're not telling you the markets aren't going up, and again, not the markets and the economy are not necessarily linked. This is one important thing to understand. Remember, into the markets, you've got people trying to chase yield. You have people trying to invest to make more money on their money. We've got 401ks, IRAs, and those kind of money. So that money's flowing in, and it's searching to create yield, which is why we've seen such a big run on the Russell, because the Russell is not as affected or affected at all from what's going on in the trade war talks and things like that. So when you look at it, again, where else are you going to go? You're not going to keep the money in cash. You're not going to go to Las Vegas and try to bet on it. So what you're going to do is you're going to put it into the stock market and continue to hope and pray that the markets continue to go higher. And maybe they will. Again, I'm not telling you the markets are not going higher. I mean, the markets look like they want to go higher. And they, as we said earlier, they look like they probably want to test the highs. But overall, the underlying weakness of the economy continues to be mind-boggling. All right, again, we look like we're still in a recession in many parts of the country, and you now see things happening that make absolutely no sense, but of course the markets go higher. And this is why we have to understand that it's very easy for the markets to go higher as long as there is big money still investing in it. And of course, that's what you're seeing, because what we do know is that money in the market has a better chance than being in cash, especially if you're investing in it, you can hold, or if you're hedging it. But also you tie into that the advisors and those out there, they don't make money unless your money is in the market. So that's one of the important things to look at when we look forward, is that there's going to be money continuing to pour in as we continue to chase that yield. Now, as bonds start to rally, if bond futures fall and interest rates rise, that will give investors and savers another opportunity. Right now, you have no other choice. Okay, but I think if you look around, take a look at the Las Vegas real estate market, one of the hottest markets. Well, it's not as hot anymore. It did not match year over year. It is not growing as fast. Now, again, I think that's a better thing when you look at it. I don't think we want to see this ridiculous fast growth, because, again, all that ever means is that the market is going to dramatically turn. But at the end of it, what you have here is you're showing signs of weakness. And again, I'm not telling you the market's not going to go higher. I have no reason to believe that the markets are going to go lower right now. There's nothing indicating that there's a sell-off imminent. All right, so we have to wait until we get news that there is an imminent potential sell-off. But right now, there is not. You're going to see potentially this week, I think you'll see a lot of action in gold, a lot of action in the bonds, and a lot of action in the currencies, and possibly a lot of action in the equities, depending on what is said by the Fed and by the ECB. Because we know that Mario Draghi continues to want to say we'll do whatever it takes to protect and save our economy. Now, we know that the emerging markets are collapsing. Well, that's only foreplay or a prelude to what is possibly going to happen everywhere else. Typically the weakest will fall. Now, again, initially that might be to bring some strength into the general markets, but at the end of it, that could be a problem. And that's where we see it. But again, before we go to break, we do remain neutral, looking at individual issues, looking for trades to make, either on the long or the short side of it. But in the meantime, general markets, we're going to be neutral and observing. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. I am Todd Bubba Horowitz, and of course, always great to be here with you. We're going to step out here for a break, and we'll be back with more of Bubba's Bottom Line after the break. What's up, everybody? Remember, highschoolinvesting.com. If you'd like to help us out, we're getting ready to go into, obviously, it'll be our 9th school year. And of course, obviously, I have supported that myself for basically the last 8 years, and through Patreon, we've gotten a little bit of help, but we need more. Otherwise, we're going to have to shut it down. And if you'd like to help us out, it's Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. And also don't forget to catch the Bubba Show every single day at 4 to 5 Eastern at libertytalk.fm. And let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line. What's up, and welcome back to Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horowitz with you. And of course, we've had a lot of news last week, and I think one of the big news last week was President Trump's decision and with Wilbur Ross and all the others to let ZTE go back into selling products and buying products. And I think, again, is it good? I don't know. I don't have the answer to whether it's good or not. But I believe under the structure that the deal was made, I think it's fine. All right? Because if what I saw and what I read and what I talked about on Fox during the week was, if we are going to have our own people in their offices watching what they're doing, and then I think that changes the dynamics of, for example, what we do now with Iran and their nuclear. Well, we give them 30 days notice. We're going to come and check, and we'll see. I don't know. I'm not sure. So I think that when you have somebody there, I think that changes the dynamics. So again, I don't know for a fact, but I do believe the way that this deal was structured, I think this gives us every advantage and then allows the business to flow. I think that was a reach out from President Trump to China, trying to solve these trade wars. Now, I don't believe there's going to be any trade wars with Mexico, with Canada, with China, with anybody. I think this is a bunch of stuff going on right now that will resolve itself out. Remember, everybody needs the United States. We don't need the others. Okay, we can function in this country. Okay, so I think what you're going to see is that there's going to be a deal made, and we're going to stop being the donor to everybody. We're going to say, hey, all we want is fair and equal trade. And I think that's the correct message. I think it's about time that we had a president that stepped up and had the stones to say, you know what, I'm tired of giving everything away. But he didn't just start with the trade wars. This goes back to when he was first elected, when he started with Boeing. All right, look, if it was up to me, I believe we should have an audit of the government and an audit of the Fed. So you can say what you want, but I'm tired of paying all these taxes that we have to pay and that I have to pay that go into a dark hole. Okay, I'm tired of the lobbyists running the country. I'm tired of the politicians sticking it to the American people on a regular basis. To me, it doesn't make sense. And quite frankly, I'm happy that we have a president that is stepping up to the plate and saying, I love America, and I believe he does. I love America. I want this to be the best place in the world, which it already is, but I want to make it better. And I think that is something that we're starting to see. Now, whether or not we get there, obviously it's hard to get through all the crap from what's already been created through all these years, but hopefully we will get through it, all right? But it looks, again, look at how many people are against the President of the United States. They started with the Russian hacking. Well, it's now 2 years since the investigation, and where's the information? I mean, I don't see it coming out. Where is it? Okay, so excuse me. If you continue to want to beat on it, let's get some proof. All right. I mean, this is something that has become ridiculous already, and quite frankly, I'm tired of listening to it. I'm tired of it taking up our airwaves. I'm tired of listening to all the left media, talking about this when there's no proof. There's more dirt on the Clintons than there is on Donald Trump. Okay, so I find that to be somewhat of a problem. But I think one of the other problems we're starting to look at is you're starting to see a problem in a lot of these debt instruments, and I think you've seen a warning put out by Goldman Sachs on some of these things. Now again, the markets don't announce themselves and say, okay, it's time, we're going down, send everybody a telegram, sell, sell, sell. It just happens. One day you show up and all of a sudden the markets start just to go down. Very similar to what we saw earlier this year, but then it stopped and now we're coming back in. And again, I'm neutral, I'm not getting involved here. But you have to start to wonder about all these things mounting, okay, and wondering how long we can continue to hide the troubles that are here. We don't have the growth, okay? I hear what they say, but does anybody really believe it? I think that is something that I have to question because I don't see it, okay? Now, I think I would see something. I think I would see some improvement. I saw we had a lot of improvement in some of the retail stocks, okay, and some of the retail business. Hey, I hope so. Look, again, I'm not against. I'm for. I hope that things work out better, but I continue to see the same things develop. I continue to see it in the banking industry. I continue to see the little banks get pounded, the big banks get bigger, and of course, knowing that they're going to be bailed out by the Federal Reserve. But I think one of the questions you have to ask yourself, is this a market top when a teenager starts his own hedge fund? Okay, now again, I'm all for it, right? I think it's great that a teenager had that, but is that a sign of a market top? One of the things you always have to remember are there are warning signs that start to show up, and I don't think we've seen any more. I think we've seen a ton of warning signs of these markets, but again, we have to weigh the difference between real, imaginary, and the chase for yield. And the chase for yield will always dominate. And I think that is something that we have to be concerned about is the overall chase for yield, because that continues to keep money flow into the equities, because, again, that we talked about this earlier, that's the only place to go. But there's a lot of warning signs that are starting to show up. And again, it doesn't mean that they're going to come into play tomorrow. It doesn't mean it'll be a week from tomorrow. It doesn't, nobody knows, because we go back to the same simple fact that markets don't announce themselves. Based on the current structure, they look like they're going to go higher. Based on the current structure, the Fed's going to remain dovish, which means free money, which means more stimulus, which is totally a joke. But again, this is why we will have problems, is because nobody in the Fed has the guts to step up and say, we need to hike rates. We need to get the free market system back and running. And I don't think that that's what we have. All right? I don't think that we have the true free market here, okay? One of the issues is you can see with the cryptocurrencies, right? Yeah, they've been struggling the last couple of weeks or last couple of months, but they're not getting pounded. They are getting more acceptance. They are getting more reality. There are more people now accepting US dollars to convert. You know, when it started out, you know, for me, it was very challenging on how to even get in when I got in, because I couldn't do it, but I finally found it. But you've got a number of places now that are now allowing you to convert US dollars into cryptos. These are real. I mean, there's many nations, many small countries around the globe that are using them now as their own currency. And it is the way of decentralizing and getting away from the Federal Reserve. This is that financial revolution that we mentioned, that we talked about right here about a year ago, is that there's going to be some sort of a revolution in this country. And it's right now, it looks to be through the crypto world, because now you're starting to see Jamie Dimon has agreed now that the cryptos are actually real, and maybe he's doing it just for the money. You've got the new LMX exchange in London. Fidelity is now putting in a department for cryptocurrencies. So now you've got major acceptance by the big money, okay? Even people are talking to Warren Buffett. Now, I don't expect Warren Buffett to come around yet, but I don't really care what Warren Buffett does, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, you have a major play here that says that cryptocurrencies are going to be real. They are continuing to grow in their market cap, and very similar to the internet of the 90s, the cryptocurrency world. Now, again, there's going to be a lot of washout. There's going to be a lot of hurt and people that are going to lose money in here trying to out-gamble it, which is why we always tell you to do your research before you invest in any of them. But yeah, there's 14 or 2,100 coins. I don't know, some ridiculous number of coins. But at the end of the day, there will be some that are going to be real. There are already many out there that are being accepted. I mean, MasterCard is putting together a credit card for cryptocurrencies. So you are seeing the acceptance by the people that need to accept it to make it really real. And of course, you know, you've now got it trading on many exchanges. You've got new products coming out all the time, and I wouldn't be surprised soon that we'll start to see options on these as well. That's all lending credibility to the cryptocurrency world. So if they're going to lend it credibility, that means that A, yes, they want to make the money on the exchanging of it, but also that they believe that it's going to be a real product. And I think that you can look at this, and you can look at Bitcoin for sure as more of a digital gold. I think that people are using it as stored value. Now, whether or not I agree with that, I can't say. I mean, I was never a big gold guy who said, well, I'm going to hide in gold. I mean, I believe in hiding in the stock market. So, but I do own gold, and I do own Bitcoin, and I do think that, again, you should take a small percentage of your portfolio, okay? Not a lot, very tiny percentage, but I think you should have some exposure. I think you've seen that by many of the advisors. I think you've seen it by many of the firms, and I think, again, this is no different than the internet. You don't want to get crazy. You don't want to jump in and put everything into it, but certainly 1 or 2 or 3% is something that's worth investing into this space, because it looks like it's real. It looks like it's going to be spectacular, and it looks like there's an opportunity, very much as we saw from the internet in the 90s. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. Top Bubba Horwitz. We're going to come back with my commentary on why Google may be anti-American with Bubba's Bottom Line right after the break. Everybody, just remember my high school investing program. If you'd like to help us out, again, we're coming into our 9th year and we're looking for some help. Otherwise, we're going to have to shut it down. If you'd like to help us out at Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. Would love to help. Would love to have the help. And also don't forget to get to the Bubba Show every day from 4 to 5 Eastern at LibertyTalk.fm. And now let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line. Welcome back to Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horwitz with, of course, my commentary. Of course, I give my commentary the whole time, but this is my directed commentary, and of course, it's at Google. Here's a company that made billions and billions and billions of dollars throughout the United States of America. Their home is here. Here is a company that has revolutionized a lot of things that we do. Larry Page and gang are the biggest. They are terrific. They do some good stuff, but all of a sudden they have come out with a statement that their artificial intelligence, AI, will not be allowed to be used in weapons and in defending the United States of America. And I have to ask you, I have to wonder, why would a company that has built its fortune in the United States of America, why would a company that is born here, why would it, with its own citizens, why would it not want to help defend the United States of America? To me, I don't understand how we can get into it and not want to be a defender. I'm not saying that we should do anything with it, but isn't one of the things of having power, having others have the ability to know that you can wipe them out so that you don't have to use that power? But yet Google wants to stand up and say, well, we're not going to defend the United States of America. Now, to me, I believe that to be anti-American. I may be wrong, but to me, I find that extremely challenging and very disrespecting of your own country when you have the ability to help your country stop any violence with your goods and do not want to help them. I don't think this is the same thing as Apple not wanting to open that iPhone for the FBI or for the CIA when they did, because I think that the FBI and the CIA could have figured it out, and I don't. That was for an event that already happened. But with Google's artificial intelligence, that could prevent something that could happen in the future. So why would a company that has made billions and its owners or its board is billionaires, okay, why won't and why don't they want to help defend the very country that made them what they are? I find that interesting. That reminds me of the Whoopi Goldberg and the movie stars that made millions and millions and millions of dollars here, but yet don't want to defend America. To me, it doesn't make sense. It's like getting in an airplane and wanting it to go down. To me, I find it disrespectful. I find it actually hurtful. And I think it's a sad state when one of the companies that was built in this country does not want to go to bat and help this country. And really what they'd be doing is helping prevent future problems, because somebody else is going to come up with the same type of AI, artificial intelligence. So to me, Google, why have you become a company that is becoming more anti-American with all of your things you allowed with the a lot of the terrorists that communicated through YouTube and through all those other things, and yet here is your chance to step up and help America, and you're walking away. This is Bubba's Bottom Line, and as always, I thank you for being a part of the show, and of course, we will see you next week right here on Bubba's Bottom Line, and we'll see you on tomorrow with Bubba's Daily Update right after the markets. Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will see you on Monday with Bubba's Daily Update. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.